Go.
Hello, my name is Jeff Hardison. You know, in corporate America today, probably the largest single expense that any business has is its payroll. So I thought it might be interesting to kind of talk a little bit about how time cards actually get translated and become checks. That process and how it happens. It's actually less complicated than I thought. I had a friend of mine who is a CPA kind of go through the process for me. What usually happens in the beginning is that you have an individual who will fill out a time card. And then that time card has to be taken to be approved by somebody who has the authority to do so. Typically the supervisor of whatever corporation, business, or unit that we're talking about. After that then, the time card gets submitted into the accounting department. Now, what the accounting department does at this point is they take the card and then they pull up what they have on the computer. Typically nowadays, they use computers. They pull up a log of all the employees that work there and match up numbers to ensure that, in fact, the employee is an existing employee, active, because this is one of the first checks that are used in order to prevent someone from trying to embezzle or illegally get money out of a company that they ought not to. Once that's been done, then what happens is that they input the number of hours that the individual has had into what they call an automated payroll system. So they pull up specifically a kind of program, a computer program, that you then feed in that employee's number with the hours. And what's really nice about the computer program is that it will automatically do all of the tax work for you. It will do the federal tax, it will do the state tax, it will take care of annual leave, sick leave, it will divide all of that up. And also if you have situations where perhaps a corporation does different jobs, it will be good to actually compartmentalize which jobs were done by that individual. The reason there's that's so much nicer now in computers is that in the days before computers, that actually all had to be figured out by hand. You can imagine how much time that would have taken for someone to have to do manually. Once that's done, then you're basically pretty much ready to go and start printing the checks. What you then do, once the information, as I said, has been input, is you then go through and do what's called a first edit. And what that is that you go back and check to ensure that the inputted information that you've inputted actually matches what is supposed to be there, so that you haven't done something in error. Then you go to the printer if that's where you do it. Some corporations now do not actually print their checks in their own place of business. They'll often have another corporation or other business handle that. But for those that do, you would then go to the printer and then you would put your checks in, feed it into the printer, and then basically hit print. Then all of the checks come through. Then they go through what's called the second edit, which is basically physically looking at the checks. Now that depends again on the size of your corporation. If it's really huge and you're talking, several hundreds or even thousands of people, obviously that's not practical. But if it's a smaller corporation or business and you can actually do that, they do what's called a second check, or just ensure that every check that's been printed was in fact a check that needed to be, or matches up to what all of the employees have done. After that, someone is usually delegated to tear them apart, put them into an envelope, it's distributed to everybody, and happy hour hits, and everyone's happy.